Folks at home, welcome back to the Backyard Bass Pond, and we got good news for you today. Our two pet bass, Bonnie and Clyde, have finally spawned. That's something we've been trying to get them to do for the last 3 years, and we got some good underwater footage of it finally happening. And one other piece of good news is we're building a second backyard pond that we were initially going to build just for our 5 baby turtles, but now we're going to also put Moby in it. So we're all set up with Aquascape to come in and build the pond on June the 15th. More details on that pond build later in this video. So if you guys missed part 1 or part 2 of our pet bass or spawning series, I recommend you watch them first because it'll give you some background information on why we added these spawning mats and did some other things to try to help these two bass spawn. But now let's just roll some of this underwater footage. So my goal was to have multiple cameras recording at different angles to capture this entire spawning process, and I wanted to focus a lot on that mat area because you could tell that Bonnie was getting defensive and had kind of already marked that as her territory. So one morning she eases by Clyde's cave and tells him it's about to go down, so he wakes up, gives it a big yawn and said, "Alright, let's go." So folks, this is pretty cool. Bonnie actually laid her eggs right in front of our live stream camera, and a bunch of you guys got to watch all this happen live. And she laid hundreds or thousands of eggs on this mat over the course of about an hour, and all of it was recorded on our other channel, BamaBass Pond live stream. We're not going to show the full hour of that, but you can go check that out on our other channel. But shortly after the spawn happened, Clyde went back to the cave, which is unusual. The male is supposed to stay and protect the eggs. But Clyde left it all up to Bonnie, and you could definitely tell she started getting defensive. She was chasing all the bluegills away. Our crappie outlaw didn't come around too much, but the bluegills definitely came in to eat some of the eggs, and Bonnie was not having it. So a couple things I want you to note. Look at how big she is right here, right after the spawn. You're going to notice all this stress is going to gradually take a toll on her, and she's going to look completely different here later in the video. The thing I love about this pond is you get to see the full picture of how the spawn works. You get to see how all these fish interact, the stress that it puts on the bass to protect the nest, how relentless the bluegills are to come in and invade the nest. But here's where everything takes a turn. So this is about the time Bonnie starts getting a little bit tired. She's had about a day and a half of chasing the bluegills away, and everything takes a turn. So all the bluegills sense that she's getting tired and stressed out, and they actually start pushing her around a little bit and bullying her, trying to move her off that nest and get her to abandon the nest and go out to deeper water. Take a look at this, guys. This is really unbelievable. These bluegills are a third of the size of Bonnie, but she just doesn't have the energy in her. And I've read in some instances these big female bass get so stressed out after a spawn that they'll go out to deep water, not eat for a week or two, and sometimes they'll never recover and they'll die. But by not having Clyde around to help her protect the nest, she definitely got too stressed out and eventually even abandoned the nest. So at this point I had a hard decision, because after Bonnie laid the eggs, I could remove the spawning mat and take it and isolate it in a 100-gallon aquarium and let all the fry hatch. The big issue I had is I didn't know if Clyde fertilized the eggs or not. So if you take out unfertilized eggs, they're never going to hatch. So at this point I decided to let Mother Nature take its course. And then it became a free-for-all. The golden shiners were down there eating. The bluegills came around to eat the eggs. And can you believe it? Even Bowser came by to eat fish eggs. That's something I would have never guessed would have happened. So one of the really good things about having these spawning mats is a lot of these eggs get buried down in the fibers of this mat, and the fish and all the predators can't get to them. Bonnie most likely laid thousands of eggs, and surely some of them survived, but we'll know in the next 2 to 3 days if they were fertilized and if they're going to hatch. And here's a good look at our pet crappie outlaw. One thing I love about him is his colors change throughout the day, sometimes based on whether he's feeding or not, but he blends in a lot. If he's in the shade, he'll be darker, and if he's in the sunlight, he'll be brighter. But he's got those pretty dark colors right now. And this little guy is a bluegill that survived from some of the initial fish that we put in the pond. And you don't really get to see him that often. He hides in the cracks most of the time, but I did capture a quick glimpse of him. Alright, it's time to feed Mr. Moby, and we're also going to talk about our new pond build. The date is set for June the 15th. Aquascape is coming to build our second pond, and initially this was going to be a turtle pond, but Liz and I got to thinking about it. It would be better if we could put Moby in a pond and isolate him from all these other fish and bait fish, because we're literally afraid that when he enters a pond he's going to try to eat everything and overeat and potentially either kill himself or try to eat some of the bluegills. We just know there's a lot of things that could go wrong, so our plan is to release the turtles and release Moby as the only fish in the beginning. So we're going to build it deep enough and big enough to support him and his future growth. So folks, leave any comments down below on what you'd like to see in this new pond build. One good idea we had in the past was an island, which is a perfect idea. These turtles need to get out and bask, so there's probably going to be an island out in the middle. But now's the time to leave those type of suggestions before we start building the pond. That way we can get the ideas and get all the material ready for the build. So now we're going to go through a turtle feeding clip, and by the way, these are the turtles that will end up going in the pond with Moby. We call them the 5 Ninja Turtles, but I probably laughed way more than I should have at this particular clip. And so as you can see, one of the pieces of food gets stuck under this little Miramo moss log, and the turtle keeps biting the wood, not knowing how to get his head in there and get the pellet. So now he gets redirected to an easy pellet, which should be easy. But as his brothers are coming along, it slips out of his mouth and goes right in there where the other pellet went. This gets better. So eventually he gives up on it, and one of the bigger turtles with a longer neck's like, alright, I can get this. Nope. Same exact thing happens with him. He's biting the wood and not the actual pellet, but he's smart. He's getting in there sideways. He's actually working at it. I think he's got the potential. This is extremely funny to me for some reason. No, he's struggling now. So they are definitely having a tough time with the laws of physics and the way the water works. But he's getting so close at this point. So I decide to lift it up, kick it back out to him. And oh my gosh, worst case scenario, this is becoming one of the hardest tasks ever for this turtle to catch up to this pellet. Got him. There's no doubt about it, he earned that one. So to add on top of everything that's going on right now in the pond, the toads are back. So if you all watched the pond videos last year, we had a toad invasion and they came in and made it in the pond and we had tadpoles everywhere. So it's that time of year again. You'll be seeing a lot more on that in the next video, but make sure you're subscribed. I'll try to give you all an update in the next couple of days if any of the eggs hatch and we have baby fry. But we hope y'all enjoyed this video, and we will see you all next time.
Bonnie and Clyde were pretty looking people, but I can tell you people they were the devil's children.